Millionaire sees his black childhood girlfriend selling flowers on the street and realizes she's. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. Marcus Walker stepped out of his shiny silver car onto the busy streets of New York City. He fixed his fancy suit and looked around. Ethan was 45 years old and had everything money could buy: a big apartment, a successful business, and even a boat, but something was missing. No matter how much money he made, he still felt empty inside. As he walked to his favorite coffee shop, he saw someone that made him stop in his tracks. There, on the street corner, selling flowers, was a face he could never forget: Claire Adams. His heart skipped a beat. Many years ago, when they were teenagers in a small town in Georgia, Ethan and Claire were in love. Claire was the preacher's daughter, and Ethan was the son of their housekeeper. People said they could never be together, but they didn't listen. They spent hours dreaming about their future, sitting on her father's porch swing. But life changed everything. Ethan got a scholarship to a big college far away, and Claire's father refused to let her go with him. The last time Ethan saw her, she was crying at the bus station, promising to wait for him. But when he came home for Christmas, she was gone. Her whole family had moved, and he couldn't find her. And now, after all these years, here she was, selling flowers in New York City. Her hair had a little gray in it, and her face showed she had been through a lot, but her warm brown eyes were exactly the same. "Claire," Ethan called, stepping closer. "Claire Adams!" Claire looked up, and when she saw him, she gasped. The lilies she was holding slipped from her hands and fell to the ground. "Marcus, Ethan Walker?" He quickly bent down to help pick up the flowers, but when their hands touched, a familiar spark ran through him, just like when they were young. "I can't believe it's you," Claire said, her voice shaking. "I see your name in the newspapers sometimes. Walker Investments. You did it, just like you always said you would." But something wasn't right. Ethan noticed the worry lines on her forehead. Her clothes looked old, and her hands were rough from work. This was not the future they had dreamed about together. "What happened, Claire? Why are you selling flowers on the street?" Claire looked away as she nervously arranged the flowers. "Life happened, Ethan. Not everyone gets to chase their dreams." Just then, a young woman walked up to the flower stand. She was in her early 20s, with warm eyes just like Claire's. She smiled gently and held up a paper bag. "Mom, I brought you lunch." Marcus felt like someone had punched him. The girl looked exactly like Claire did when they were young, except for one thing: she had his mother's dimpled smile. "Mom," Ethan whispered, his heart pounding. Claire's eyes filled with tears. "Marcus, this is Lily, your daughter." Everything around him seemed to disappear. The cars, the people, the noise, it all faded. He had a daughter? A daughter he never knew about? "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice shaking. Claire wiped her tears. "Your mother came to me after you left for college. She said if I told you about the baby, you would give up everything to come back. She said your scholarship was your only chance to have a better life. I couldn't let you throw away your dreams, Ethan. Not for me." Lily looked at him with wide eyes. She had grown up hearing stories about her father, the boy who left town and became successful. But she never imagined meeting him like this, on a busy New York street. "All these years," Ethan said, running a hand through his hair, "I searched for you, Claire. I even hired people to find you, but your father wouldn't tell me anything." "My father never forgave me for getting pregnant," Claire said. "We moved to Atlanta and I raised Lily alone. I did my best, working any job I could find. Lily is in college now, studying business, just like you." Marcus looked at Lily, feeling both proud and heartbroken. He had missed everything: her first steps, her first words, her graduation. "I have so much to make up for," he said, reaching for Claire's hand. "Please, let me help you both." But Claire pulled away and looked over her shoulder nervously. "It's not that simple, Ethan. There's more you need to know." A black SUV with dark windows slowly drove past. Ethan saw Claire tense up. Something was wrong. Claire, the strongest person he had ever known, was afraid. "What is it, Claire?" he asked. "What aren't you telling me?" Claire looked at the SUV as it turned the corner. "I can't talk here. It's not safe. Some dangerous people are looking for me. That's why I sell flowers instead of working as a nurse. I need to stay hidden." Marcus's protective instincts kicked in. He had always defended Claire when they were kids. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. Whatever is happening, we'll face it together." Lily watched them with tears in her eyes. All her life she had wondered about her father. And now, here he was, looking at her mother the same way he did in the old picture she kept hidden in her Bible. "Let me help you," Ethan pleaded. "Both of you. I have money, connections. I can protect you." Claire looked at her daughter, then back at Ethan. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe fate had brought them back together for a reason. "Okay," she whispered. "But not here. Meet me at St. Patrick's Cathedral at sunset. I'll tell you everything." As Ethan watched Claire and Lily pack up their flowers and walk away, he knew his life had changed forever. Now he understood why he had always felt empty, because he had been missing them, his real family. He pulled out his phone and canceled all his meetings. Nothing mattered more than finding out the truth. That evening, Ethan stood on the steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral, waiting. In his pocket, he held a small silver locket with a picture of him and Claire at their high school prom. He had carried it for 25 years. Finally, he saw them. Claire had changed into a simple dress, and Lily walked close beside her. "You came," Claire said softly. "I never stopped coming when you needed me," Ethan replied. Inside the quiet church, Claire told her story. 5 years ago, I was working as a nurse in a hospital. One night, I cared for a man with gunshot wounds. His name was Vincent Victor. Marcus's heart dropped. He knew that name. Victor was part of a dangerous criminal gang. He was in pain and started talking. Claire continued. He told me secrets about crime, money laundering, and powerful people. He didn't know what he was saying. Later, he realized what he had told me and begged me to testify against the gang. But these people, they are everywhere. Cops, judges, they control everything. When Victor was found dead in his hospital bed, I knew I had to run. Lily squeezed her mother's hand. "We've been running ever since, changing our names. Mom can't work as a nurse because they would find her." Just then, Lily's phone buzzed. She checked it and turned pale. "Mom, they found our apartment. Everything's destroyed." Claire grabbed Lily's hand. "We need to go. Now." "No," Ethan said firmly. "No more running. Come with me. My home has security. You'll be safe while I call people who can help. The FBI, witness protection. We'll find a way." Claire hesitated, then looked at Lily. Maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to run anymore. "Marcus, I can't ask you to give up everything you've worked for," Claire said. She took out a silver locket, opened it, and showed Ethan an old prom photo. "You and Lily are everything. The rest is just money and buildings." A church bell rang, making Claire jump. Through the stained glass windows, they saw it was almost dark. It was time to decide. "Trust me," Ethan said, "like you used to." Claire looked at their daughter, then back at Ethan. In his eyes, she saw the same strong look she had fallen in love with years ago. Finally, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. As they walked out of the cathedral, Ethan made sure Claire and Lily walked in front of him. His driver was waiting with a Bentley. Before letting them get in, Ethan checked the street carefully. As they drove toward his home, Ethan made a silent promise to the young man he used to be, the one who let Claire go once before. He wouldn't make that mistake again. But in the rearview mirror, a black SUV followed them. It was the same one from the flower stand. Inside his expensive suit jacket, Ethan felt the weight of something he never thought he would need in his business life: a gun. Marcus's home was at the top of a very fancy building in New York. When they stepped out of the elevator, Claire and Lily gasped. The huge windows showed a beautiful view of Central Park. Everything in the home looked expensive. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered, "but so empty." Marcus looked around. He saw the cold furniture, the kitchen he never used, and the picture frames full of business awards instead of family photos. I always felt something was missing, he admitted. Now I know what it was. The doorman called to say their bags had arrived from Claire and Lily's old apartment, which had been destroyed. Ethan had sent a security team to save anything that wasn't ruined. There's a guest wing down here, Ethan said, leading them down the hall. You'll each have your own room. This floor is locked with a special key, and there's security downstairs. Claire set her purse on the marble counter. Marcus, we can't stay here forever. Those people won't stop looking for us. Let me make some calls first, he said. I have connections in the police. We'll figure something out. Art gay, Lily sat on her bed touching the soft blanket. Mom, maybe he's right. We can't keep running. Just then, the elevator chimed. Claire jumped, but Ethan held up a hand. It's just Hannah, my housekeeper. She's worked for me for 15 years. The elevator doors opened, and an older woman with silver hair stepped out. When she saw Claire, she gasped and dropped her bag. Dios mío, Hannah whispered. It's you, from his pictures. Claire looked confused, but Ethan felt his face turn red. Hannah had seen him looking at old pictures many times. Hannah, this is Claire and our daughter Lily. They'll be staying here. Hannah's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Lily. I always prayed he would find you both. She hurried forward to hug them, then stepped back, embarrassed. I'll make up the guest rooms properly, and dinner. You must be hungry. As Hannah went to the kitchen, Claire turned to Ethan. You kept pictures of me? Before he could answer, his phone rang. It was his mother, Helen. Marcus stepped onto the balcony. Mother? Marcus, what are you doing? Helen asked, her voice worried. I just got a call from the security desk. Claire Adams is there with a young woman. You knew? Ethan asked, his voice hard. All these years you knew I had a daughter? There was a long pause. I did what I thought was best for you. Best for me? Or best for your dream of having a rich, successful son? Ethan felt angry. Do you know what Claire and Lily have been through? Listen to me, Ethan, Helen said quickly. There's something you don't know about Claire. You mean about Vincent Victor? About the mob? Yeah, I know, and I'm going to protect them. It's worse than you think, Helen insisted. After you left for college, Claire's father didn't just move them away. He was involved with... The call cut off. No signal. That was impossible. He had the best service money could buy. Marcus rushed back inside. Claire and Lily were in the kitchen with Hannah, who was making soup. The scene looked so perfect, his family finally together. The phones are down, Ethan said. Hannah frowned. The TV too. I was about to watch my novella. Marcus checked his security cameras. The screens were black. No signal from the lobby, the parking garage, or the outside cameras. This isn't a coincidence, Claire said, looking pale. They found us. Just then, they heard a door bang open. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. The panic room, Ethan said, grabbing Claire's hand. Behind the bookcase in my office. Hannah, go with them. What about you? Lily cried. I'll be right behind you. Go. Hannah led Claire and Lily to the office. Ethan ran to his bedroom, opened his safe, and grabbed his gun and some cash. As he turned, he saw a photo, him and Claire at prom, young and in love. The footsteps got closer. He heard men talking, spreading out to search the penthouse. At least 4 of them. In the office, Claire helped Hannah into the panic room while Lily stared at the desk. There were photos of her as a baby, a toddler, a teen. Claire had secretly sent them to Ethan all these years. Lily, come on, Claire whispered urgently. But Lily wasn't looking at the photos anymore. She was looking past Ethan, her eyes wide with fear. A man stood in the doorway, pointing a gun at them. Hello, Claire, the man said softly. It's been a long time. Claire gasped. Daddy? Her father, Pastor John Adams, stepped inside. But he wasn't the kind man from their old church anymore. His eyes were cold and cruel. You caused a lot of trouble in running away with Victor's evidence, he said. Did you really think you could hide? Marcus stepped in front of Claire and Lily. "You're not touching them." The pastor laughed. "You still don't get it. Your mother knew who I really was. That's why she sent you away to Yale. She was protecting you." More men walked into the office, all carrying guns. Claire's father smirked. "Now you're all loose ends, and I'm here to clean up." Hannah suddenly threw a heavy vase at one of the men, giving Ethan the chance to grab Claire and Lily. "Go!" Ethan yelled, firing his gun at the ceiling. The sprinklers went off, creating chaos. As bullets flew, Ethan slammed the panic room door shut. They were safe, for now. "The police will come," Lily said. "They won't help," Claire said. "My father has too many of them in his pocket." She opened her silver cross necklace, revealing a tiny USB drive. "We need to get this to someone we can trust," Ethan said. Hannah stepped forward. "I know someone. My son. He works for the FBI. He was building a case against the Victor family for years," he said. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "I was protecting him, just like your mom protected you, Ethan. Just like Claire protected Lily. Sometimes love means keeping secrets." Claire held Hannah's hand. "Can you call him?" she asked. Marcus nodded. "The panic room has a special phone. It doesn't use the main system, so no one can trace the call." He walked to a panel on the wall and started dialing. Claire looked at the security screen. Her father sat in his office, smiling like he used to before giving scary church speeches. She whispered, "I thought he hated me for getting pregnant and embarrassing the family, but he was just afraid I'd find out the truth about him." Lily hugged her mother. "We'll be okay, Mom. We're together now." Marcus talked to Hannah's son and told him everything. Help was coming, real help this time, but they had to wait for it to arrive. On the security screens, they saw more men enter the penthouse. Pastor Adams was gathering an army outside their safe room. This was just the beginning. Suddenly, the speaker in the panic room crackled. The pastor had found the intercom. His voice was cold and full of power. "Claire, give me the USB drive and I'll let your daughter live. That's more mercy than your mother got." Claire's hands shook as she held the USB drive. "He's lying. He'll kill us all no matter what." Marcus took her hand. "We're not giving up this time. I lost you once because of him. Never again." In the distance, sirens wailed. But would they bring help or more danger? Time passed. On the security screens, they saw police cars surrounding the building, but no one came upstairs. "They work for him," Claire whispered, "just like in Atlanta." Hannah sat in a corner, praying in Spanish. Lily paced, worried. Ethan tried calling every emergency number in the panic room. No one would help. "Wait!" Lily pointed at a screen. "Who's that?" A new person walked into the penthouse. She was an old woman in a fancy suit. Marcus gasped, "That's my mom!" Helen Walker, Ethan's mother, walked straight past the gunman and into the pastor's office. "Turn on the sound," Ethan said. He flipped a switch. His mother's voice came through clearly. "I won't let you hurt them, John." The pastor smiled. "Helen, still trying to protect everyone. How did that work out last time?" Helen's voice shook. "I should have exposed you years ago, when I found out what you were doing with the church's money." "But you didn't," he reminded her, "because you knew what would happen to Ethan if you did. Just like you knew what would happen to Claire if she didn't leave Ethan." In the panic room, Ethan turned to Claire. "You knew my mom was protecting me?" Claire nodded slowly. "She came to see me after you left for college. She showed me proof of what my father was doing. She told me if I told you about the baby, you'd come back and your life would be in danger." "So you disappeared," Ethan whispered. On the screen, Helen stepped closer to the pastor. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, John. I have proof. If anything happens to my son or his family, it all goes public." The pastor's smile disappeared. "You're lying. Try me," Helen said firmly. "I've been preparing for 25 years. Lily squeezed her mother's hand. "Grandma Helen was protecting us all along." The pastor suddenly laughed, a cold, scary laugh. "Oh, Helen, you really think I didn't plan for this?" And he pressed a button on his phone. "Bring her in." The elevator doors opened. Two men dragged in a woman. She was bruised and struggling. Marcus gasped. Detective Lisa Emma! She was getting too close to the truth, the pastor explained. She was following the money. Now she's going to help us. Helen's face turned pale. What are you talking about? It's simple, the pastor said. When the detective came to investigate a disturbance at Ethan Walker's penthouse, she found a terrible scene. A mother and daughter hiding from the law, a rich man helping them, a housekeeper caught in the crossfire, and you, Helen, trying to save your son. All of you will die in a shootout with police. No one will believe that, Helen shouted. The evidence will say otherwise, the pastor said calmly. The USB drive will be changed. Detective Emma will be seen as a hero, posthumously, of course. Detective Emma struggled. You won't get away with this, the pastor chuckled. I've gotten away with it for 30 years. A man of God can hide anything behind a pulpit and a collection plate. In the panic room, Ethan was pressing buttons. There's a way out, a secret tunnel to the service elevator. We can escape. We can't leave them, Claire protested. Marcus turned to Hannah. The tunnel leads to the 3rd floor. Can you get Lily to your son at the FBI? Hannah nodded. With my life, Mr. Ethan? Mom, no, Lily cried. But Claire held her daughter's face. Baby, this USB drive has to get to someone who can stop him. This has to mean something. What about you? Lily asked. Marcus checked his gun. Your mom and I are going to help my mom and Detective Emma. We're going to end this. Claire held his arm. Your mother kept us apart to protect you from this life. If we do this, Marcus cupped her face. Everything good in my life came from you believing in me. Now it's my turn to fight for our family. Lily hugged them tightly. Promise you'll come back? We promise, baby, Claire whispered. Marcus opened a hidden panel revealing a dark tunnel. Hannah took Lily's hand. Claire pressed the USB drive into her daughter's palm. Together? Ethan asked Claire. Claire grabbed a gun from the weapons locker. Together. On the screens, the pastor's men prepared for a massacre. But he didn't know what was coming. Love was stronger than fear. Truth was more powerful than lies, and the family he tried to destroy was ready to fight back. Marcus hit the button. The panic room door opened. It was time to face the past and fight for their future. As they stepped into the penthouse, Claire thought about her father's sermons on Judgment Day. Well, Daddy, she thought, your Judgment Day is finally here. Marcus and Claire stepped out of the secret safe room. The air felt different. They had been running and hiding for so many years, but now everything led to this moment. They walked quietly down the hallway. In the big living room, Pastor Adams was with Helen and Detective Emma. Your mother always wanted to do the right thing, the pastor told Helen. She thought she could save everyone, even me. But when she started asking about the church's money, she got in the way. So you killed her too? Helen's voice was full of anger. How many lives have you ruined, John? I like to think of it as protecting God's work, the pastor said calmly. The church does good things with that money. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Marcus looked at Claire and pointed to the doorway. They had the element of surprise. No one expected them to come out of the safe room. Meanwhile, in the service elevator shaft, Hannah and Lily climbed down a ladder. Lily held a small USB drive with evidence of her grandfather's crimes. Her hands were shaking, but she was determined. Your mother is the bravest woman I know, Hannah whispered. She only wanted to protect us, Lily replied, and Ethan's mother protected them both. Now it's my turn to protect everyone. Back in the penthouse, Ethan signaled to Claire. He held up 3 fingers. A countdown began. 3, 2, 1. They jumped into the room from opposite sides. Ethan aimed at the men holding Detective Emma, while Claire aimed at the man near Helen. Let them go, Ethan shouted. Pastor Adams didn't even look scared. I was wondering how long you'd stay hidden, he said. Claire, my girl, you always had more bravery than sense. It's over, Dad, Claire said. We already sent out the evidence. Even if you kill us, you can't hide anymore. The pastor stood up and fixed his tie. Your problem, daughter, is that you don't understand. Sometimes we must do bad things for a greater good. That money built hospitals and schools. Detective Emma spat on the floor. It also filled graves. The pastor shrugged. And you're all about to be next. Suddenly, the lights went out. The emergency red lights flickered on. Everything turned dark and scary. In the confusion, Detective Emma slammed her head back, hitting one man's nose. Helen, even though she was old, picked up a heavy crystal paperweight and hit another man on the head. Gunshots rang out. Claire felt a bullet fly past her ear. She jumped behind a couch. Ethan fired back. Then, "Mom!" Ethan shouted. Helen screamed in pain. She held her shoulder, blood dripping from her fingers. Detective Emma grabbed a gun and fired back. "Give me the USB drive," the pastor called, "or I start shooting for real." In the elevator shaft, Lily and Hannah heard the gunfire. "I have to go back," Lily said. Hannah held her arm. "No, child, your job is to keep that USB drive safe. That's how you help." Tears rolled down Lily's cheeks, but she kept climbing down. Back in the penthouse, Claire crawled to Helen and held her hand. "We won't lose you too. I thought I was protecting you all, but I just delayed the inevitable," Helen gasped. "You gave Lily a normal life," Claire told her. "That means everything." Marcus had taken down 2 gunmen, but more were coming from the elevator. Detective Emma's gun clicked empty. "Enough," the pastor shouted. "Drop your weapons or Helen dies." Claire looked at Ethan. In the red light, she saw love in his eyes, the same love from 25 years ago. Whatever happened, they would face it together. They lowered their guns. "Good," the pastor said. "Now, where is my granddaughter and the USB?" "Gone," Claire said proudly. "Far away from you." His face darkened. "Search the safe room." Before the men could move, voices echoed from the stairwell. "FBI! Drop your weapons." Hannah's son had called the police. FBI agents stormed the penthouse, their badges shining in the red light. The pastor reached inside his coat, but Detective Emma tackled him. "John Adams, you're under arrest." As the police arrested the pastor, Ethan hugged Claire tightly. "No more running," he promised. Just then, Lily appeared in the doorway with Hannah and an FBI agent who looked like Hannah's son. "Agent Samuel," he introduced himself. "Or just Samuel to my mama. We got the evidence. The pastor is finished." Claire hugged her daughter. "It's over." Helen was put on a stretcher. She reached for Claire's hand. "I have to tell you something," she said weakly, "about the day I came to see you." At the hospital, Claire, Ethan, and Lily sat together. Agent Samuel spoke with his team. Helen was in bed, bandaged but awake. "It's time you knew the truth," Helen said. "I didn't just find out about the stolen money. I found out that John was involved in your mother's death." Claire gasped. "What?" "Your mother, Martha, was the church accountant. She found out about the stolen money. When she confronted John, Helen's voice broke. "The car accident wasn't an accident. John had someone break her brakes. I found the payment records." Claire's legs felt weak. "All these years, I thought she fell asleep at the wheel." "There's more," Helen said. "Your mother made copies of everything and sent them to a lawyer. I gave you the key to his safety deposit box. That's why John was hunting you." Claire pulled out a small key from her necklace. "I never knew what it was for." "That box has 30 years of secrets," Helen continued. "Dirty judges, corrupt cops, everything." "So when Mom found out what Victor knew," Lily said, "we had to run again." "I should have told you sooner," Helen said, crying, "but I was scared. John had already killed your mother. If you knew everything, you'd fight him, and I couldn't lose another mother." Marcus held her hand. "You were protecting us, Mom." Agent Samuel knocked. "We need to talk about the deposit box. With this evidence, we can take down John forever." Hannah spoke up. "These children need rest. The box can wait one more night." To everyone's surprise, Samuel nodded. "Yes, Mama." Everyone laughed, breaking the tension. Even Helen smiled. That night, they all stayed together in the hospital room, like a real family. Lily curled up next to Claire. Ethan sat close to Helen's bed. Hannah made sure everyone had blankets and food. "Tell me about Grandma Martha," Lily whispered. Claire smiled. "She was the kindest person I knew. She taught me to always look for the good in people." "She would have loved you," Helen added. "Did you know you were in love back then?" Lily asked her parents. "Since the first time she shared her peanut butter sandwich with me," Ethan said. "I was 7, Claire laughed. "I thought he was my knight." Helen watched them all. So much time was lost, but love had brought them back together. The first light of morning shined through the window. A new day had begun, one without running, fear, or secrets. Helen handed Claire an old envelope. "Your mother's last letter. It's time you read it." Claire carefully opened the envelope and started to read the letter out loud. "My dear Claire, if you are reading this, something bad has happened to me. I hope Helen knew when to give you this letter. There is so much I need to tell you, my sweet girl, and I don't have much time. Your father is not who we thought he was. The church, his work, everything. It's not real. It's just a way to hide something terrible. I have spent months collecting proof, writing down everything I have found. The people he works for are dangerous. But I couldn't stay quiet, not when I saw how they were hurting our community. Today I saw one of them following me at the store. That's why I'm writing this letter and leaving all my proof with a lawyer in Atlanta. Helen knows where it is. She will protect you if I can't. But that's not the real reason I am writing. I am writing because I want you to know that love is stronger than anything bad in this world. I see how you look at Ethan Walker. I see the same happiness in your eyes that I had when I first fell in love with your father, before he changed, before money and power made him different. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't be with someone because of where they come from or how much money they have. Real love is pure and it is worth fighting for. I have watched you grow into a strong and kind young woman. You have my courage and your grandmother's gentle heart. Use both of them. They will help you through hard times. If something happens to me, don't waste your life being angry. That's not who we are. Instead, live with love and truth. That is the best way to win against those who live with lies and hate. And if you ever have children of your own, tell them about me. Tell them their grandmother wasn't perfect, but she loved them enough to stand up for what was right. Tell them I am watching over them from heaven, just like I will always watch over you. Remember the garden we planted last spring? The lilies will bloom soon. Even after a long, cold winter, flowers always find a way to grow again. Love is like that too. It always finds a way. Be brave, my sweet girl. Be happy. Be loved. With all my love forever and always, Mom. The hospital room was silent except for quiet sobs. Even Agent Samuel wiped away a tear. She knew, Claire whispered. She knew they were going to hurt her, but she still fought back. Helen held Claire's hand. Martha wanted to protect everyone. The people at church, the community, and you. She was the bravest person I ever knew. Lily hugged her mother tightly. That's where you get it from. That's why you protected me all these years. Marcus kissed Claire's forehead. Your mother was right. Love always finds a way. Claire suddenly remembered. The lilies. The lily garden at the church. Marcus smiled. That's where we had our first kiss. Behind the yellow lilies, Claire said. I told you they were my favorite because they looked like sunshine, and now I sell flowers. Maybe I was trying to stay connected to her all these years. Hannah, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. That's why you always kept yellow lilies in your cart, even when they weren't the best sellers. Detective Emma walked into the room, looking tired but happy. We just got news from the FBI. They found everything Martha Adams left in her safety deposit box. She saved 30 years of proof. Everything is still there. What happens now? Lily asked. Agent Samuel stepped forward. Now we make sure her sacrifice wasn't for nothing. With her proof and what Victor gave you, We can stop John Adams and the whole group of bad people. Corrupt judges, dirty cops, politicians, all of them. She started this fight, and now you're finishing it, Helen told Claire. Claire looked at the letter in her hands, at her mother's beautiful handwriting. She said not to seek revenge. This isn't revenge, Ethan said firmly. This is justice. This is making sure other families don't go through what we did. A nurse came in to check Helen's vitals, reminding everyone that she needed rest. As the others started to leave, Helen called Claire back. There's one more thing, she said softly. Something I never told anyone. The day Martha died, she came to see me first. She knew about you and Ethan. She knew you were in love and thinking about running away together after graduation. Claire sat on the edge of the bed, holding her breath. She made me promise that if anything happened to her, I'd make sure you and Ethan ended up together. Those two souls are meant to be, she said. Love like that is rare. Tears filled Helen's eyes. I broke that promise. I thought I was protecting you both, but I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Claire hugged her carefully, mindful of her injured shoulder. There's nothing to forgive. You kept us alive, and now we have the rest of our lives to be together. Outside the room, Ethan waited with Lily. Through the window, they could see the two women hugging. A mother who protected her son by sending him away, and a daughter who protected her child by running away. Both guided by the love and sacrifice of a woman who had died fighting for the truth. 3 days after Helen was shot, the whole world seemed different. News stations kept talking about the same story. A huge crime group was exposed. They had people in churches, banks, and even the government. At the center of it all was Pastor John Adams, the preacher who had been using his church to hide millions of dollars of dirty money. Claire watched the news from Ethan's penthouse. Lily sat beside her while Ethan talked on the phone with his lawyers. Another Polilicooter called, Ethan said. They want you to testify about Victor and what he told you. They have the proof now, Claire replied. Do I really need to testify? Lily squeezed her mother's hand. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Hannah walked in with coffee and churros. The agents are here again, Mr. Ethan. They're in the lobby. This time, Detective Emma and Agent Samuel looked more relaxed. John Adams is talking, Emma said. He's naming names, trying to make a deal. Will he get one? Lily asked angrily. Samuel shook his head. Not with the murder charges. Your mother's proof is solid. The man who tampered with her car brakes is still alive, and he's agreed to testify. Claire closed her eyes, feeling the weight of justice at last. Your mother was a fighter, Helen said, and now we can honor her. She pulled out papers. I started a foundation in her name to help kids go to school, just like she secretly did with some of the church money. Claire's hands shook. She knew all along? She knew all along? She fought in her own way. Now we will too. Agent Samuel cleared his throat. One more thing. When we searched John's office, we found a safe. Inside, there was a college fund for Lily. What? Lily gasped. Your grandfather was a criminal, but he saved everything about you, Samuel said. He had people watching you, but he never hurt you because he thought you didn't know the truth. He hoped you would just stay away. Until Victor told me everything, Claire whispered. Then he couldn't risk it anymore. Marcus knelt beside Claire's chair. He had loved Lily in his own way, but that did not make up for the bad things he had done. The money is clean, Samuel said. We checked everything. It really came from good people who donated to the church. It's legally Lily's. Lily stood up. She looked determined. Then I know exactly what to do with it. Mom, the foundation needs a scholarship, right? One for kids whose moms are raising them alone. Claire hugged her daughter close. She felt her mother's love passing through her and Lily. The money that was supposed to make Lily stay quiet would now help other children find their voices. Hannah came in with fresh coffee and tissues for everyone. Detective Emma quickly wiped her eyes, trying to look serious, but Agent Samuel did not even try to hide his tears. There's one more thing, Helen said softly. She took out a small velvet box from her purse. Marcus, I think it's time I gave you this. Marcus opened the box. Inside was a simple diamond ring. Mom, this was Grandma's ring, he said. Yes, Helen said. I was saving it for you, for when you found the right person. I should have given it to you 25 years ago. The room became very quiet. Ethan turned to Claire, still holding the ring box. We lost so much time, he said. I don't want to lose another minute. Claire looked at the ring, then at Lily, then at Helen. Helen had tried so hard to protect them all. Finally, she looked at Ethan. She saw the same love in his eyes that had given her strength many years ago. She had once sold flowers on a Manhattan street corner, hoping they would find each other again, and now they had. Sometimes love finds a way. Sometimes it just needs a little help from a mother's wisdom, a daughter's strength, and a family's belief in what is right. 1 year later, the garden behind Ethan's house in the Hamptons was filled with blooming yellow lilies. White chairs were lined up, facing a flower-covered arch. The afternoon sun made everything glow warmly. It was a very different scene from the wedding that almost happened 25 years ago. But this time, everything was just right. Inside the house, Claire stood in front of a big mirror. Lily helped her with her wedding veil. Dad is nervous, Lily said, laughing. Hannah caught him fixing his tie 100 times. Your father always fidgets when he's happy, Helen said, sitting by the window. She was fully recovered now, though rainy days made her shoulder ache sometimes. When he was a boy, he would bounce in his seat whenever he knew the answer in class. He drove his teachers crazy. There was a knock at the door. Detective Emma peeked in. She was off duty today, wearing a blue bridesmaid's dress that matched Lily's. Everyone's ready when you are, she said. A lot had changed in the past year. The Martha Adams Educational Foundation had already helped 50 students start college. Agent Samuel and his team had caught everyone in John Adams's bad business. Samuel had also become a close family friend, especially after Hannah started inviting him to Sunday dinners. John Adams was sent to prison for life. Claire had gone to the court to see him one last time, not for revenge, but for closure. Her father looked old and weak in his prison clothes. He was nothing like the strong preacher who once made her afraid. I forgive you, she told him. Not for you, but for me, for Mom, for Lily. We are free now. The door opened again. Hannah came in, carrying a special gift, a bouquet of yellow lilies from Ethan. A note was attached. For the girl who shared her peanut butter sandwich with me. Now I've been yours ever since. Claire touched the lilies gently. She remembered another garden, another time, but this time there would be no secrets, no fear, only love. It's time, Helen said, standing up. Are you ready? Claire looked at her reflection one last time. She saw her mother's strength in her eyes, her daughter's happiness in her smile, and all the lessons she had learned in the silver strands of her dark hair. I've been ready for 25 years, she said. The wedding was nothing like the fancy high society weddings in magazines. It was small, real, and filled with love. Marcus stood under the lily-covered arch, looking at Claire like she was still the young girl he had met long ago. Agent Samuel stood beside him as his best man. Hannah sat in the front row, wiping tears from her eyes. When it was time for the vows, Ethan and Claire decided to speak from their hearts instead of using traditional words. I have loved you for most of my life, Ethan said. His voice shook with emotion. Through years of being apart, through success and empty achievements, through everything that tried to keep us apart, you were always in my heart. You taught me what really matters. Claire squeezed his hands. You are my first love, my only love, my forever love. We lost so much time, but we never lost each other. Now we have this beautiful life, our wonderful daughter, and the chance to help others together. I promise to love you for all the years we have left, to make up for all the years we lost. Lily handed them the rings. They were simple gold bands, but they meant more than the biggest diamond in the world. By the power given to me, the minister said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. What God has brought together, let no one separate. At the wedding party, Helen gave a speech that made everyone cry. She spoke about Martha Adams' courage, about love that lasts no matter what, and about truth being stronger than lies. Martha once told me that love like theirs was rare, Helen said, raising her glass. She was right, but she was also right about something else, that love always finds a way. As the sun set over the garden, Ethan and Claire danced together. Lily was dancing with Agent Samuel, while Hannah taught his FBI friends how to salsa. Helen watched from her seat, her heart full of happiness. Look, Claire whispered to Ethan. She pointed to the garden. The yellow lilies glowed in the golden light of the sunset, just like they did in the old church garden where they first fell in love. Your mother was right, Ethan said softly. About everything, even after the hardest winter, flowers always find a way to bloom again. Claire rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. I think she knew somehow. That's why she left the evidence. That's why she fought so hard. She knew that one day, love would win. Marcus held her close. And now we have the rest of our lives to prove her right. As the stars appeared above, Ethan and Claire stood together, surrounded by yellow lilies and the family they had built through love, bravery, and never giving up. They had fought against lies with truth. They had turned sadness into happiness. And they had proved that the greatest love stories aren't the easy ones. They are the ones you fight for, wait for, and never give up on, until, finally, love wins. And somewhere, Martha Adams was smiling down on her garden, watching it bloom again. Thanks for watching. If you like the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.